Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the special meeting of the Park Hills Civic Association. My name is Alan Bowser. I'm currently the president of the Park Hills Civic Association. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We've invited people throughout the community who might be impacted, who might be stakeholders in the superintendent's proposal to close the Silver Spring International Middle School and to build a new Sligo Creek Elementary School somewhere in Silver Spring. As an aid for this conversation, I put together a couple of slides and things that will help steer the conversation. The first thing is to just remind you that the issue of our schools in East Silver Spring have been the subject of reporting for the last couple of years. This is an article of August 2025 when they told us that they were going to cut back on the spending for Silver Spring International Middle School and Highland View Elementary School. Most recently, and the subject of this conversation this evening is this subject. This was an article from Bethesda Today on October 14th, a couple of days ago. No longer tenable, MCPS to recommend closure of aging Silver Spring International Middle School by 2031. In a nutshell, hopefully you all can see this. This is actually an AI generated summary of the issues from all the materials that I had collected. It's just helpful for framing the issues and start out. I won't read all of it. I'll skim through it. MCPS is proposing to close SSIMS and Sligo Creek Elementary School as a part of a significant facilities overhaul in the Silver Spring area. Superintendent Thomas Taylor announced the recommendation to close SSIMS by August 2030 or 31, citing the building's age, long-standing infrastructure problems, and safety issues exacerbated by nearby Purple Line construction and tragic student incidents. Instead of rebuilding SSIMS or keeping it as a middle school, the proposal calls for expanding and renovating Eastern Middle School and Sligo Middle School to absorb the SSIMS students. After its closure, SSIMS would be repurposed as a temporary holding school for other students during construction projects at their home schools. The superintendent emphasized that these changes respond to long-standing concerns about building conditions and that operating SSIMS as a permanent school is no longer viable. The facilities initiative includes a proposal to build a brand new elementary school on a new site in Silver Spring to be opened by fall 2029. The existing elementary school building faces the same kind of problems as the SSIMS building. He writes and says that community engagement is ongoing, and the AI pulled out this point. The proposals have sparked significant reaction, with many parents and students voicing concerns over the disruptions and the perceived slow timeline for addressing longstanding school facility issues. MCPS states that no current student will be forced to move schools due to the closure, as implementation would phase in after their graduation. The closure and relocation plans are still recommendations. They require approval by the Board of Education and depend on funding by the county council. To continue, I picked this text of the superintendent's letter to the community of October 15th off of the Parents Coalition's website. Some of you who have got kids in the at the elementary school should have received this letter, and I won't read it, but there were some couple of things that I thought were interesting. The eventual move of SSIMS of Sligo Creek Elementary School to a new building, repurposing of the middle school, MCPS's best attempts to upgrade the facility have been thwarted by unforeseen building conditions and structural issues that far exceeded projected costs. As a consequence, projects have been cut short or simply not done. Then he writes, presently, the building simply does not allow for the improvements that were promised to you, and I cannot in good conscience recommend the level of investment that would be required to continue operating two permanent schools there. It really has reached the end of its useful life as a permanent home for a school. He mentions adding to these challenges is the Purple Line construction immediately adjacent to the school site. Though destined to be a huge community asset eventually, the Purple Line does create some real safety concerns, particularly for our many students who walk to school in what is already a very busy area. He says he's grateful for our dedicated advocacy and sorry that it took so long for MCPS to hear us. It talks about the holding school, and then at the end of this, he reiterates that they will build a new Sligo Creek Elementary School on a new site in the Silver Spring area that would open in 2029. It says it's an ambitious timeline and that we will repurpose the SSIMS building as a secondary holding school and move students from who would have gone to SSIMS in our neighborhood to Eastern Middle and Sligo Middle. And then he reminds us that these are recommendations that will go before the Board of Education and that this extensive investment in Silver Spring schools also requires funding by the county council. Here's the Parents Coalition website where the letter was reprinted, and then there's a timeline. So the purpose of this meeting is to let everybody say what they think about the superintendent's proposal. Everybody is welcome to say something, as this is going to be recorded. We can share it with members of the board and our elected officials at the state and the county level. Nobody should be shy. I see that we've got some hands up already. That's the way to indicate that you'd like to make a comment. We're going to be respectful. This is a very serious issue for our neighborhood. Just one in a series of many important issues for our neighborhood. We are very lucky to have on the call Laura Stewart. She is our representative on the Board of Education. She's got a busy schedule this evening, but she took time out of her schedule to join us for the beginning of our meeting. And then she's going to have to leave to do something else with another community. So thank you, Laura, for being here. We've got the leadership of the Parent Teachers Associations from SSIMS and Sligo Creek Elementary. I hope to hear from them. And let's start. And like I say, don't be shy. Hopefully, we'll hear from everybody. So I see somebody who's identified as Demise. What is that? Demise 01?
Yeah, hi everybody. This is yet tonight. Demasi. I don't know if my camera is showing my face or not, but thank you
Yes.
so much, Alan, for getting this together and pulling everybody. I really appreciate it. I just wanted, obviously, this is a very shocking news for those of us who moved to this neighborhood very recently. I just wanted to have some, because I know that there's a lot of people on this call that potentially have lived in this area for longer than I have. I just wanted to get a brief historical, like the gist of how we landed here. Like I know that the school apparently has, structural issues and all of that stuff, but has this request of getting us a new school always been on the table? Or is this something that was newly suggested by the PTA or the school leadership? How did we end up losing two schools, basically? I mean, the the letter is nice, but it really does not guarantee us a new school in our neighborhood, be it for Sligo Elementary, and we're really going to lose a school for our middle school students. So I just want to understand how we got here. Maybe there's something that I've missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Meg, that would normally be for you, but since you haven't been here long enough, if anybody else wants to, raise their hand and answer that question. Laura, would you like to say something about that?
Sure. This has gone back quite a few years. Different plans have come in and out of the CIP. Just to let you know, I'm Laura Stewart. I joined the board almost a year ago. I swore on December 3rd, I believe, of 2024. But I've been following the CIP for a while. And actually, there was a letter from Jack Smith, I think from 2017, that actually suggested to build a new elementary school, I believe at Parkside, to replace Sligo. And then there was another plan for the middle school. And so and then Highland View is kind of part of this mix. There's at one point, Highland View was part of some of the solutions. So there's been a lot of plans that just kind of got out at like a proposal and then pulled back, and then a proposal and then pulled back until there was the latest plan when the Purple Line started, when it became known that the Purple Line was going to be there. And then there was this plan that was supposed to like do something better for Silver Spring International Middle School that included the gym and other improvements. So anyway, that kind of gives you a backstory that there's been multiple ideas put forward and pulled back through the years, about 10 years.
So I could provide a little bit of historic perspective here. Basically, when the unification of Tacoma Park came in 99, 98, there were going to be more students coming. So it was felt they needed a new middle school and a new elementary school. The easiest site was to put it on the old Blair facility. Which makes me wonder, where does he think he's going to find a site now? Because that was sort of the solution was, here we've got this building, and they did extensive. I don't know whether the superintendent's even been in the elementary school, because there was a lot money put into making that usable and attractive for the elementary school students. And they thought middle school students could care less, I think, because there was not much done there. So it opened in 99 and the middle school opened in 98. So that's the question, is the population really down that low for the middle school that they don't need another middle school? Do we have any figures on that? And the same thing, yeah, where if they had to use that site and they spent 2 years fixing up the elementary school, the Sligo Creek one, because it opened a year after the middle school did, where they think they're going to get a site. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Ann. Terry?
It's sort of hard to know where to start. There are so many questions, which kind of takes me to my overall question of the lack of engagement on all of this. To make such an enormous decision about a neighborhood and then say, okay, sign up by Friday so you can do the hearing. That's on whatever date it's on, or on the 23rd, and sign up, like it's come so quickly. It's kind of crazy for this kind of huge impact on a neighborhood. So I have a huge issue about that. And I'd like to understand what our representatives are going to do about that to help us actually have time to absorb this and respond to it. This just is not, this is not adequate and not okay. Um, my other concern is that as much of an education issue, this is a community and neighborhood issue. It's a Silver Spring core issue. It's not just the schools, and we need to be engaging our council members about it because this definitely has an impact on the core of Silver Spring. I was disappointed in the responses I've gotten so far from council members, as in no response except for Kate Stewart, and her response was disappointing. Not that she said she was against it, she just didn't have any stand at all, at least in what she wrote to me. So I guess my biggest concern for this group, we're not going to be able to solve all the problems tonight and make all the decisions, but we need a better path forward on how we're going to be able to have the time to engage on this and to absorb all of this and have the information and all the questions that we need to have answered. So, and I would expect that from our representatives, and I expect that from our superintendent to lay out a plan for not just reaching out to the school communities. I know that he sent out a letter to SSIMS and to Sligo Creek, but lots and lots of people in this neighborhood are going to be affected by this that do not have children in the schools right now. My kids are out of these schools, but I still have a huge concern about how this is going to impact the neighborhood as a whole.
Thank you,
Thank
Terry.
you.
Tina?
Thank you, Alan. I have a concern or a question about what the superintendent was implying about the purple line and the danger to the students. I do understand that during construction, it is very difficult. The sidewalks keep changing. That's a mess. The purple line will be up and running by the end of 2027. So I think once the purple line is up and running, Wayne Avenue is going to be safe. The purple line will obey traffic signals. It will go at the speed limit, which is maybe better than what cars do. So I didn't understand how the purple line should be involved at all as a danger to the school. That was one point. My other point is that BCC High School has 1926 written on the outside of it. Somehow or other, they've been able to maintain that building for 99 years. If the SSIMS school was originally built in 1935, I don't understand why the county can't spend the money to bring it up to grade, up to speed. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Chris Richardson?
I just want to make sure that at this point in our thinking about this issue, that we recognize that while nominally this is a county issue, I need to push back and point out that because of the blame that's being assigned to the purple line, and just by the very presence of the purple line, we need to recognize that the state needs to help join join our community. So to that end, I contacted the office of Laura Charcuti this morning, and I hopefully there's on this call, but if not, my hope is that everyone makes sure that they reach out and include our state elected team, make sure they feel our pain, and help them recognize that we were promised something a lot more forthright than what's being delivered here. There's been a lot of chatter about good faith, questioning about good faith negotiation and all this. So anyway, just want to make that comment. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm traveling. This is Lorig, and I am here and I'm listening.
Thank you, Lorig, for joining us. Next person, Annie Hill.
Hi, I am Annie Hill. I live on Wayne Avenue, right across from SSIMS, and my son attends Sligo Creek Elementary. So I'm here with concerns as a parent and as a community member, and I just want to echo what Tina said about the so-called concern around the purple line. My question for MCPS, for the Board of Ed, for our state representatives, and for our county council is, do we still care about a walkable neighborhood? Because you're talking about taking my kid, busing him to a school on University potentially, instead of walking across the street to his home school, while we're sending buses down Wayne Avenue to bring kids from other parts of the county for no apparent reason. So that's one of my main concerns. I also think we don't have nearly enough information about this, and the timeline's incredibly unrealistic. But I think it's, a net negative for the neighborhood and for our schools.
Thank you, Annie. Very helpful. Robin, you're next.
Yes, I'm a visitor here. Well, from the other side of Wayne. I'm only going to make two very quick points. First of all, I would be very interested to find out from Laura Stewart or from MCPS what the plan is to have a holding school if it's not SIMS. So my suspicion is that this entire thing is driven by the county's need for a holding school down in our area. And they just decided, well, SIMS is it. They won't kick up too much of a fuss. So I would like to know what the plan was and is for holding schools if it's not SIMS. And my second point is to urge everybody on this call to make sure that you submit testimony protesting the speed with which this is moving forward and any other points you might have in time for the meeting on Thursday. I think Alan has already shared that information. It is really important that people speak up. I will be testifying there, and if you want me to say something on your behalf, let me know. Alan knows where to find me. Thanks.
Thank you, Robin. Ro, you're next on my list, and then Megan. So, Ro, would you like to say something?
Yeah, actually, if Megan could go first, that'd be great. I'm just pulling in.
Okay, Megan, you're up. Lucky.
Hi, everyone. I am Megan DiNicola. I am the SIMS PTASA president. And so if I can add a little bit of information for the people who are sort of either assuming things or have questions, to partner on to what Laura was explaining. In 98, when SIMS was renovated, which right now it's listed under facilities as having been substantially renovated in 98, it was not. Sligo Creek Elementary was the portion of the building that was more substantially renovated, and SIMS was mostly neglected beyond some of its common spaces. We have a lot of systems in the building that are 60 plus years old. The BCC was renovated more comprehensively, including site planning, more recently and in a more comprehensive way than SIMS ever was. So we have confounded additional kind of Frankenstein additions over time and areas of the building that are still left with 1960s, 70s, 50s era asbestos and health concerns. In terms of the purple line, I can't speak. Obviously, I don't work for MCPS. I'm not advocating for them. I'm just trying to clarify some things that I know because I've been very closely aligned with this advocacy effort over the last 3 years. Our school's concerns around the purple line were, yes, pedestrian oriented during the construction period. But as time has marched on and our new gym was located at the top of the hill towards Dale, our students still need to go outside and travel around the site environs to get to their outdoor spaces, as does Sligo Creek Elementary. This is beyond not ideal. This is completely unsafe for our students. And now that we've added a transit line, we add more transient people. We have had multiple incidents so far this year, 4 that I can count on, of either of public users on our site sunbathing naked on the tennis courts during school, entering the elementary school playground during playtime and approaching students, drug users on our softball fields. And we have real concerns that it's not just the purple line, it's the permeable nature of our site. As many of you are aware, Parks owns our track and field and our tennis courts, so there is not purview that we can protect those, and we've been advocating for protection of our students in those spaces. Additionally, because of the longstanding neglect from MCPS, which predates our current superintendent, facilities, and board of ed, we have dilapidated items throughout the site. Laura was there. We found, there's outdoor handrails that could easily slice open someone's hand and give tetanus. But if we start to take them out, it becomes a $50,000 project to replace a handrail due to current code. And so some of that has been compounded by the neglect. And so I just kind of want to give you guys a background on what's been going on. And I think that I respect and appreciate the opinions of the neighborhood. I don't think I'm here to sway anyone. I'm here to just kind of give you guys some information based on what we've been talking about. And I will also caution, I think walkability is a big issue. I think I'm an urban planner and an architect, so I really believe in walkable communities. I believe in public transportation. However, we do need to be aware that out of our current population of SIMS students, which we're about 990 kids, 641 of them are currently bused to the site. So that is the majority of students for SIMS. I can't speak to the elementary school, but we just need to make sure that we're representing all stakeholders. And if the middle school moves to another site, there's going to be a contingent of kids who can walk to that site. So we just need to sort of think about it in broader terms, just so that you guys can get what you want out of the situation. That's all I have to add for now.
Thank you, Megan. Ro, you're next.
Yep. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. I mean, I don't want to belabor a couple of the points that were already made, because I do think actually a lot of the points that folks are flagging are what I've been hearing too, and I'll be presenting on Thursday as well. First off, the process, I actually do specialize in participatory processes between citizens and government. And first out of the gate, I would say this is not a genuine participatory inclusive process that builds trust between citizens and their government. So that's hugely problematic, especially for a superintendent who has just come in. I happen to really like Superintendent Taylor. I want to be his champion. I think he is trying to have comprehensive plans and comprehensive vision, but this is just not the process you go about. You can't. You need the people behind you, or else things do fall apart. And so that's one of the questions I would ask. Why did things fall apart over the last 8 years? And how are you going to prevent and address those things from falling apart again? Right? And it's not by shoving things down people's throats and getting in votes before anybody can pay attention, because that'll create more distrust, chaos, and just a relationship that will be fraught for anything else he wants to do beyond facilities, right? So the boundary study and everything else that's going on. So the process is really important. The timing is really important. The timing is also really important from a budget standpoint. I mean, these are huge numbers that we are asking for at a time when, I don't know if you know, folks, Maryland's struggling budget-wise, right? And I hope we're not trying to jam down a budget because we're nervous another one's not going to pass ever again, because, the state and the county's not going to have the money for it. In my mind, that's not good planning. That's just trying to, get what you want in the short term at the cost of the long term. And so I guess I'm trying to say is there are so many questions that are not answered in this rushed process. And I'm really afraid of all of the unintended consequences that are going to happen, the significant delays, the significant budget increases. I mean, we're pretty much traumatized from the purple line, right? And so the two other points I would just make very quickly is the reasons given are incredibly disingenuous, right? The fact that the purple line being the reason. I mean, my understanding of MCPS is they advocated for the purple line stop there. So now you advocated for it there, and then you turn around and tell us the reason the school is to close is because it's there. Very disingenuous. Second, it's not fit to be a school anymore, but it's okay to be a holding school. Okay, a holding school for how long? 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Is this going to be a holding school for 20 years? Again, now you're being disingenuous. It's not tenable for kids, but it is tenable for kids for 20 years. So which leads me to believe that the reasons is what one of our colleagues said is they need a holding school, right? They need a holding school, and we become the solution for the county. And I think that's really unfair. I mean, we become essentially, I don't want to use this word, but a dumping ground for the rest of the county because they can't solve their other problems. And so this is what I mean by all of the questions that can't be answered. What other holding schools did you look at, right? Can I get that data? And then all of the other schools, Christine, I mean, all the other questions, Christine, you're on the line. What does the elementary school boundary study look like? How does this interact with the existing boundary study? I mean, there are just some real basic high level questions that can't be answered. In addition to the other like 100 questions that can't be answered, you can't even answer the big ones. So I can't get behind a plan where it's not even 100,000 foot level. We're talking like 300,000 foot level, but you don't have enough of the details fleshed out for me. So that's why I'm wrapping up here. I'm proposing, probably going to propose something like a delay. And people are like, well, if we get to delay, we'll never get it. We can't think like that, guys. We've got to do this right. We've got to manage our budget, and we got to get the answers to critical questions. Thanks, over.
Thank you, Ro. We're looking forward to your testimony before the board on Thursday. I support everything you say, and I support everybody who has concerns about the process, because this came as quite a surprise to all of us when we were really hoping for investments in the middle school in particular. I'd been to a couple of rallies about, safety concerns and inside the building, and I thought they were being addressed, and this is not the solution that I was hoping for and expecting. Jen, you're up.
So I agree with a lot of what's been said before. I am a future parent to a kindergartner. My child would be starting in 2029. And if you walked anywhere around the area between Cedar and down by Bennington Park, there are a lot of children at the 1 year mark under the age of 2. A significant amount, to the point where someone in the neighborhood recently came up to me and was like, what happened with the baby boom? So there's going to be a significant change in potential census of who's going to be using Sligo Creek and Silver Spring Silver Spring International Middle School in the upcoming years that this is going to be affected. We just heard numbers for 1/3 of the participants or the students at Silver Spring International Middle School are walkers right now. What will the numbers look like in 2031? In all honesty, I don't care what they are right now. I care what they're going to look like in 2031. And in that statistic, we were told that there would be a significant number of new walkers if they moved between Eastern and the other middle school. How many lose compared to how many gain? I need the number, right? Like we want the actual data for 2031 and how many new walkers will you be able to create compared to how many are you losing? Same with Sligo Creek Elementary. Like 2029 is, to me, is very far off. To think that I've just been advocating to get my kid into a daycare and I'm currently now having to figure out kindergarten and he's 18 months is really not where I need to be at the moment. But I'm now advocating to figure out where my kid was potentially going to kindergarten, where I bought a house in the neighborhood because of its walkability to an elementary school and how important that is to me, and how many kids in this neighborhood will it affect. We also don't regularly see buses on the side streets in our neighborhood because our kids walk to school. How will now adding buses into our neighborhood, not just for the holding school, but because now you need to bus all of our kids over to other schools, affect our neighborhood streets because they are being beaten up by Purple Line construction. I have had half a tree being taken down in my front yard because a Purple Line truck hit it and then had to get an arborist out here to cut it down to save it. We don't have the infrastructure because you've never bused these streets to elementary school and middle school. They've walked. We don't have sidewalks. And now you also are bringing in buses for a holding school. So it's conflated. It's exponentially different, right? And I haven't heard that addressed at all. I also have heard Purple Line is going to bring crime, which inherently to me sounds racist. If the Metro is not bringing crime to Bethesda Chevy Chase, how is Purple Line bringing crime here? Now, I will say active construction sites bring crime. And that statistically is out there. We have what I think someone just used the campus as permeable. We have a permeable campus that's literally an active construction site, both on the campus and directly in front of the campus for the Purple Line. How will we make this not permeable when it's not an active construction site to eliminate the or reduce crime or reduce transients that are coming in? That is not a Purple Line issue. That is a construction site issue, and let's not conflate the two because they're very different things. But that hasn't been addressed at all. The fact that there's currently multiple active construction sites directly on and surrounding, because it wasn't just Purple Line, right? There was water line issues down by Sligo Creek. There was construction across Wayne that wasn't Purple Line for a while. I bike and run this route all the time. There is stuff that is just not all Purple Line, and I feel like it's been clumped together and easily designated as such. So I do think that that really needs to be talked about. Those are my new questions. I probably have 1,001 others that people have talked about, but based on this discussion right now, I think those are my new questions that probably now people have 10 more questions off of. But thank you.
Thank you, Jen, so much for participating tonight. Laura, I know that you're going to have to jump off to do Woodland. Do you want to say something before you disappear yourself?
There we go. Sure. First of all, I want to thank everyone for all your questions. I think it's really important that these do get submitted to the superintendent and to the board. So I look forward to seeing that comprehensive list of questions. I have to say, the status quo isn't okay for me right now. The condition of Sligo International Middle School, and I also heard some of the HVAC issue over at the elementary school. And yes, I would love to come do another visit. I think it's probably been a very long time since I've been to an elementary school, so I would like to come visit for sure. And I just want to let you know personally, Laura Stewart here, I don't have as many concerns about the eventual Purple Line. I do have a lot of concerns about the building itself and the way the investment was made in that building, prioritizing the gym over the main parts of the building. I also am very concerned about kids on site during construction. I've seen too much go wrong with kids on site during construction. And just from what I've seen in the building and also even the cafeteria, the structural issues, the blind spots, the stairwell problems, the outside the building having to travel so far, kids, from the gym to the fields. It's just that's where my concern has been, the building itself. But I do appreciate hearing from the community. I do believe in a collaborative process. So hopefully we can do better there. But I want to appreciate everyone's comments. I did take my own notes. I presume Alan will be having some great notes as well. And again, I look forward to those questions being asked and hopefully we can get some of them answered. So I appreciate everyone being here.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Laura, and please communicate to your board colleagues as well as to the superintendent that we really do feel aggrieved by the process and the way this has been sprung on us, and that we have to sign up and testify in just a matter of days, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of opportunity for engagement, and there's been terrible outreach on this issue. So please, this is an issue that's gone back over the decades that some of us have been working on these issues, and they don't seem to have improved. I personally like the new superintendent, Dr. Taylor, and I know he's trying to do the the right thing. But in this case, I think it was a bit of a sledgehammer and definitely a surprise. So please communicate that to your colleagues and to the superintendent. So thank you very much.
I will. I just want to just make one more point. So, there will be a budget passed by the board that will be sent to the county executive, but then the county executive gets to have the say, and then that gets sent over to county council, and the county council has a say, and then usually there's a discussion between the two, and there's usually something else that comes out of that, especially on an CIP year. So this is not just a simple amendment, right? This is called, and you can see the strategy here is much different. So I expect a lot of discussion that will be happening throughout the year. So there will be plenty of opportunities for input as we move through the process. And so I just kind of want to let the community know that there will be other bites at the apple as we go through. And that's just me speaking as a past advocate.
Thank you. And we do appreciate your past advocacy and your work on the board now. So see you around, I'm sure.
It's a lot of big things happening, a lot of hard stuff, and a lot of relooking at the strategy, because up to this point, we have not had a strategy. That's part of the problem. But we need to, like you said, we need to talk to the community and bring the community along. So no, there's not going to be any one solution that everyone's going to love. That's for sure. I know that. But we do have to do what's best also for taxpayers, for children's safety, and for our neighborhoods, because schools are part of the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay.
Christine, you're up next. And then Chris.
Hi, thanks for having me. I, along with Ro, am the SCES current PTA president. So we've been talking about this for a long time, but yes, it still kind of came as a surprise for us with the recommendations. I just want to say I completely agree with all of the concerns that we all have about the communication process thus far, and it does need to improve. But I do just want to add just things for us all to keep in mind as we move through the process, and that's kind of the alternatives. And just the concern about us, as Laura Stewart just said, we just don't want to end up back in the same spot that we are in right now in 5 years. And so just as we think through it, Sligo Creek Elementary School being attached to, the middle school is just not a long-term solution. The main problems that we have at the elementary school, is we have very little outside space. Crossing to the outside space is hard, and it's just in that space, we really can't find solutions to the school in that small space that exists. I mean, that's not to say if can they build it out this way or that, but keeping the school there doesn't fix a lot of the problems for Sligo Creek Elementary. And then we just also need to look at the alternatives. If the idea is to completely fix up SIMS, like that might mean our students being bused pretty far away to a holding school not in our area while that process goes on. So I just think we need to be aware that, the alternatives, for kind of keeping it here, could, are also difficult for the community as we look at all the possible solutions.
Thank you, Christine. Chris Richardson, you're next, and then Robin.
I wanted to say that there's one point that hasn't been mentioned in this conversation, so I'll just quickly say that I've been monitoring conversation on the local listservs, and I've seen, just as a measure of the level of paranoia and cynicism, I've seen chatter on both sides of Wayne Avenue, people wondering if this valuable parcel might be subject to development. Some fears that people have. So I just want to throw that out there, and hopefully those are just silly concerns. But can we be reassured that development of this parcel is not going to be an outcome?
That's a good question, a good, and a consideration. One of the things that's been mentioned in the chat, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about, is, where are you going to put a new elementary school? I mean, there's not a lot of places in downtown, Silver Spring, where you can put a campus for a new elementary school. And somebody mentioned, you were talking about listserv conversations. Somebody mentioned that one of the sites that had been discussed in the past was in Nolte Field. And that doesn't seem as a, thank you, Terry. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a practical situation because, there's no access roads to get to that. The schools are in a good site right now, Wayne Avenue and Dale Drive with the Purple Line. That's a good place. And we've got a couple of other comments, so let's take them and then circle back and see what our next steps are. Kirsten, you're next.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a parent with a child at SSIMS and a child at Sligo Creek and a preschooler who would get to attend the new schools should they exist. I appreciate all the concerns. We walk to school every day and we love it, but I'm very worried about the condition of the schools. The schools are in bad shape. And I've heard things on the listserv about, well, they're not too bad, or maybe they could update them. The problems with the schools seem fundamental. They're fundamental to the age, to the layout, to the difficulty to update them. And I really support whatever changes get my kids in safer schools that help them to learn. Some days the heat, it's too hot in one classroom or too cold in another, or too loud that they can't even hear the teacher. The halls are too small. They can't, if there's an emergency evacuation, they can't get out in time. The staff at the elementary school says all the time, you would never design a school for little kids like this. You have 5-year-olds who have to navigate a giant maze to get from one end to the other. You have lunch times where kids are having lunch at 10 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon because the cafeteria is so small that there's no place, they can't feed all the kids at a decent hour. So they're always hungry. Or groups of kids are always left out and hungry. And these aren't things you can fix easily with a little remodel. I know that, it's been decades of neglect that have led us to this place, but now there's no money for a lot of the solutions that are being proposed or that people would like to have. I'm interested in what's the solution that gets my kid in a good school and gets the neighborhood kids in a good school as soon as possible.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you. And thank you to both the PTA reps. They've done a really good job advocating for the students, and I appreciate them.
Demisi.
Oh, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody because this has been very helpful to me. It gives a lot of information and perspective on my initial question on how did we get here for those of us who don't have the historical background and don't know how dilapidated these schools are or what concerns like the children face on a daily basis. My first child attends Sligo Creek, and I honestly have not had the opportunity to learn more about these infrastructure issues. So I do appreciate everybody that came on and provided really good details about the issues. And I really wanted to just thank everybody. It gives a good perspective and understanding of the issues. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Bruce, you're up next.
Thank you. I don't want to reiterate everything that everybody has already said, except to emphasize the process side. I was involved in a boundary study almost 20 years ago when my son was in Sligo Creek Elementary School, and it was a very structured process. And it would seem to me that a countywide decision on where to have a holding school would involve the whole county. It would not be dependent on one recommendation from the superintendent. Um, One other point I'll make about SIMS as a holding school is that it is far southeastern. One of the schools due for renovation is Damascus High School. We're not going to bus kids from Damascus to downtown Silver Spring every day. That's just insane. So we just need to, put our heads together, slow the process down, let everybody have their say, have some options. There might be sites in the middle of the county that would serve as a holding school for 20 years, but as I've heard, we have no idea how long this holding school would be in place. The other thing I'll point out is that people have looked at the purple line as a negative, but it could also be viewed as a positive in that it could serve the entire county to deliver students and staff to this site for a magnet school or an immersion school, something else. So we shouldn't focus as much on the negative side if we can fix the permeability issues and all those kind of things. So, and again, thank you, Alan, for organizing this.
Well, thank you, Bruce. Ethan's family is up now.
Hi, my name's Laura, and our kids are aged out of the schools by many years. Began at Sligo Creek in the second year that it was a elementary, and then it was exciting and spanking new. But hearing from both the PTA presidents, it's really striking to me how dilapidated the buildings are, especially on the SIMS side. And we talked to a neighbor who has currently kids in all the area schools, and she said, be careful what we complain about, because finally the county is giving some attention to our schools. Now, I don't like the idea of losing a middle school because that school already has 1,000 kids. How are they going to divide that between two other schools when that population needs so much attention? But if the county is willing to invest in our area, we should advocate to slow the process down and include more community process, but not to scare away by complaining so that we don't get the investment in this side of the county when it is so more easily done in more affluent areas, I would say, that have more money and more ability to advocate. So we should advocate for the improvements, but not slowing it down so much that nothing gets done.
Can I add one small addendum, because we're also citing some points that another neighbor made who's not on this call, and that is that if we open up the comments to a broader audience, like to the up-county populations, they can organize at least as well as we can, and they may say, the down-county folks should get less money. We deserve more. So, I don't know how to play these kinds of these games and processes, but we should just be wary about just saying no. And how do we still get what we want? Make sure we describe what we want. Thanks.
I don't know if there's anybody on this call who would not agree with the statement that the board, the public school system, has very seriously underinvested in our schools, and the down county. You're always hearing something about Rolling Terrace or Sims or Highland or Oakview, and I've been hearing those conversations for more than 15 years plus. So it's a continuing conversation. We're joined by the president of the Seven Oaks Evanswood a Civic Association, Chris Reynolds, who is in Utah. And he's joining us. Chris, you want to weigh in on some of these things?
Yeah, no, I don't have a lot to add beyond what the excellent commenters have already said. I think we all agree that the current conditions of the school is really quite bad. I think the county maybe doesn't have enough money to realistically do the gut of those existing structures that would need to happen. And so a big change is probably in order. I get that. I understand that. But I think our end of the county has gotten the short stick a lot. We've gotten it repeatedly, including all of the decisions that have led us to this point, which are all enormously frustrating, but also all of which cannot be changed in retrospect. And so we're doing the best we can from where we are today. And so I think the only new piece I would add to what's been said already, which has been great, is that I think we as a community need to do some hard thinking, probably led by, I mean, in my opinion, the PTA leaders at SSIMS and Sligo Creek, to decide what we want and don't want to happen on this site collectively, and then really laser focus collectively on those desires and elevate those. Because I think the more diffuse in general our complaints and letters are, I think the less effective we're going to be advocating for ourselves. So to the extent that we can come up with, some kind of collective action plan or collective, I mean, I don't want to say demands, but like questions we critically want answered or issues we critically want solved. I think focusing on those is going to be in the best interest of our community going forward. So, I understand change is going to come. I support the idea of change. I want that change to be as good for our neighborhood and for the county as a whole as it can possibly be. But I have a lot of frustration for what's gotten us to this point, and I hope we can move forward as a neighborhood, as a larger neighborhood together. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris from Utah. Bruce, you're up.
Yeah, I had a quick question for Chris, and that's whether or not he thinks that SOWECO will try to pursue an official position on these proposals. I know we can't do that by, November 4th when these are due, but whether or not you anticipate something could happen along those lines.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's driven by any position we take is driven by the membership. The membership can propose whatever went over, and we can go through official channels and vote on that whenever. I think as a matter of being effective advocates for our position, we would want to think about what our policy is rather than just having one person kind of write something up. I think that works better when it's coming from a group of people, particularly a group of people who has the most investment in that outcome. Not to say we don't all have enormous investment in the outcome, but again, I think the PTA leaders are well positioned from just an information and investment perspective to sort of lead that effort personally. And so I would kind of back their play. And if their play is to come up with, a letter or a position, I would absolutely support putting that in front of our neighborhood for some kind of a formal vote. If there's, I probably wouldn't do that if there's like an enormous amount of disagreement in the neighborhood, but I think we're mostly unified in this. Like, I think we're capable of coming together on this as long as we're not asking for anything that's super divisive or outrageous or anything like that. So that's my very practical answer to your question.
I think we would join with Seven Oaks in a position that we thought was reasonable. The problem is that the turnaround time is unreasonable because they want to have a meeting on November 4th, and was that 2 weeks? It's just not a lot of time to sort of get the information from the board, from MCPS, and be able to digest that. And the PTAs would have to, digest that information as well. So there's not a lot of time to do that. So whoever had suggested that we delay or insist on a delay so we can do that. I mean, one of the things in the superintendent's letters that they were going to decide on site selection for a new elementary school by next spring. And that's just, that's a few months away. I mean, that's 6 months away. And so that doesn't seem reasonable. My guess is that they've been having these kinds of conversations internally for months, if not years. And so we're at a disadvantage. So that process seems to be moving quite quickly. And just as I think, across our horizon about where we could put a new school, an elementary school, I just don't see it any nearby. Let me say you've got a question again, please. There you go.
Maybe the PTA reps can give us a little bit of background on this. I know that it was mentioned during one of the PTA meetings that the superintendent had the opportunity to visit the school, at least SIMS, a couple of times. So he was here. So I'm assuming if the conversations have been happening, right? So I don't know for how long it took them to come to the decision of closing down SIMS and building a new elementary school, but it seems like the efforts, at least from the PTA side, have been done to get the representatives from the Board of Education to come and see the school. So if they can give us a little bit of background on that, that would be great.
Can anybody speak to that?
You can go ahead. I do know that the Dr. Taylor has been to the school, but I think just once. I don't know if you know Megan. I'm sorry, to Sligo Creek Elementary School. I know he has been to SIMS. Correct, Megan?
Yes, Dr. Taylor's been to SIMS 4 times in the last year alone, as a direct result of our advocacy. On at least 2 of those occasions, he was at SCES. I think he was there a 3rd time right before school started due to some issues with our HVAC. So there has been like a lot of talk. I think that I don't know anything, right? Like I've been actively talking to MCPS facilities, Dr. Taylor's office, a lot of people. Up until 2 weeks before the CIP, we had no idea that this was going to be the proposal. But the proposal, I believe, was made because they think that we've done recent feasibility studies for Sligo Creek, like as recently as 2018. So they probably have some, dead filed feasibility studies that they can pull out and at least start. I do think the time frame is very, very quick. SIMS is grappling with an official position on everything. Obviously, we have a lot of stakeholders, a lot of constituents. It's a lot to bring people into the fold who have not been aware of the facilities issues or engaged in this manner. And then we're also trying, as Rose said, to engage with MCPS and get some clarity on like all the alternatives that were considered, what the costs were, so that we really can understand this decision and make sure that it was made in the best interest of our community. I personally do think that MCPS Facilities is trying to make right by the students of Silver Spring. They have been neglected at large for a very long time. Eastern Middle School was the worst middle school in the county. They are getting a new school. The reason that is more feasible is because they have those fields behind their school. So the new school will be built there on the fields while the students stay in the building. So there's no need for a holding school. And it will improve the traffic conditions and the pedestrian patterns and the bus drop-offs for the school. By the way, the site will be planned. So that seemed like an easier fix. I think that SIMS is a much, much more difficult site to deal with. And so therefore, as Christine said, there's some just inherent issues with the way the buildings are laid out and sited that make it pretty impossible to solve without full demolition. There are no secondary holding schools. So the closest, I believe, and Therese Gibson is on the call, I think the closest holding school for elementary would be Fairland. So it's quite a ways away to send Sligo Creek kids. And the way that it would have to work would be Sligo Creek kids would be sent out. SIMS, they would have to build a holding school for SIMS, send Sligo Creek out, send SIMS out, and then redo the entire site, which has now become constrained because of the Purple Line, right? So like less site access, less easy build. You've got the neighborhood on one side and then Purple Line and Wayne Ave on the other. So I can understand and just imagine that the analysis of that became pretty hard to deal with.
Yeah, and I would say that nowhere else in the county do you see an elementary school and a middle school joined in one building. Nowhere. That's an inequity in itself. And Ethan, I see your question. What is the thinking? I'm the Blair Cluster Coordinator for MCC PTA, Therese Gibson, just to identify myself. What is the thinking of collapsing 3 middle schools into 2? That's a good question. because, and I don't have the answer to that. But that's a question we need an answer to, because you do see Pyle Middle School over in West County has got 1,500 students. We need to look at our population. Who are our students? What's the best thing for them? And I think you want maybe pose that question in terms of the students in our neighborhood. So hope that's helpful.
Yeah,
Very
so
helpful.
SIMS PTSA has a lot of those types of questions that if this is to move forward, how is it moving forward? Is 1,500 kids or 1,200 kids or 1,000 kids even appropriate for the types of populations we have? We have a large amount of English as a second language learners. We have a lot of new immigrant families. We obviously have our immersion program. So there's a lot going on and there's a lot that's factored in. So we really need to understand if this is to happen and SIMS is to close, is that the best decision, or should we be looking for to be relocated and stay whole as a community just to benefit our students? That we have a plethora of questions that we've submitted to MCPS because, as Rose said, we don't have enough information to go on to really make a lot of poignant positions at this time.
Thanks, Megan. And one of the things that so frustrating is that they talk about cost and how expensive it would be to do these. It was cheaper to do it 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and now we've seen rapid inflation in the construction industry. Don't have as many workers. The materials are more expensive, and so this is going to be an expensive undertaking. If they build new schools or they try to rehabilitate the existing school. I feel sorry for the families and the children who are going to have to attend these schools over the next 4 or 5 years while they try to sort out the solution with the AVAC and the security and the safety issues. So we've been on this call for about an hour. Does anybody else want to say something before we conclude this conversation? I'd ask our PTA representatives to share the output of their deliberations and their questions with the community. I'd also ask everybody who can testify at the board to please do that at these public hearings. You could submit, as I understand, written video testimony. You could also do it in person. I know doing it in person is much more difficult, but there are other ways to submit testimony. Reaching out to our state representatives is really important because the Maryland Transit Administration is involved in this now with the aspersions they've cast on the Purple Line. We also get state construction money for schools. They also pay our teachers. So that's really important. Everybody needs to stay involved. We are the leaders that we're looking for. We need to send things into the county council, to Kate Stewart, to Jawanda, who's chair of the education committee, to just about everybody, and let them know that this is not right. This is just it's more incoming for the neighborhood, which has taken a lot on the chin over the course of the last 10 years with the Purple Line. Ethan, family?
Yes, hi. Just thanks, Alan, for kind of wrapping it up. And I'm curious about how we can wrap it up a little bit more. It sounds like for one of the next steps, we're asking for the two PTAs to be the leads in aggregating and prioritizing our needs. Otherwise, it sounds like we're all just going to kind of all protest individually, and then we lose our kind of power of the people that are unified. Any ideas about how we can get an idea of what we as a whole prioritize and how we make that voice heard?
Ro or Megan, you want to say anything about that, about your process I mean, fundamentally, I think, the two issues before us are, do we support the superintendent's proposal to close to close the campus and to send the kids to Sligo Middle and to Eastern Middle School and to have a new campus someplace for the elementary school? Or do we want them to slow the process down and have a more deliberative process that involves the neighborhoods? Or do we want them to figure out a solution where they can invest money in these two existing structures to improve them so it's safe and a good environment for our kids to learn? I was going to have a poll. You could do a poll on this thing, and I decided not to.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I mean, I think you have to try and get to a common position because, like our colleague said, you lose all your power and you give up your leverage out of the gate. You have too many different positions and you get nothing. That's how you get nothing, guys. Like, that's how we'll get nothing in 5 years, is by everybody thinking something different. And we shouldn't be afraid of getting nothing. We should build the power and build the voice and build consensus, which we can do. I actually don't think we're that far apart. So I think we have to go for that. At the very least, getting answers to our questions is a must. I mean, this is a $2.5 billion ask, guys. We work hard for this money. And also read the room. A lot of people, we got a lot of unemployment in this area. Like, taxpayer money means a lot right now. And so I don't think us asking for how our money's being spent and asking for details. I love Jason, my sister-in-law said this too. She does planning up on Long Island. FOIA them now. I think they've got a couple of days to respond and like 20 days to get you the information. But I do think, thinking 20 years out, whether this land becomes development or whether it's a holding school for 20 years, whether we're taking the park away from Nolte. I mean, these are big, big questions that dramatically impact a place that is a half a mile from the fifth largest city in Maryland. The fifth largest city in Maryland. And you are just haphazardly making these decisions. I just don't think that's okay. I don't think it's responsible. And while I have a lot of trust in Taylor, our job as citizens is to ask these questions and get answers to them. So, like, if we can't even get on the same page about getting answers to really important questions, then, maybe we don't have the power we're going to need, going forward. And I hope that's not the case, but I'm pretty sure it is the case. I'm pretty sure that we're going to land at least on, we want answers to these critical questions. There's, I think, at least a top 10 to top, I've heard them over repeatedly in this meeting and other meetings. So I think we just have to create that list. And then I do think we go out with a survey to the community, to the PTA members. And that's where we might need a little bit of help from Alan and Chris to say, like, if we just present these three options to people, we can't overthink this, and one of them is going to be, like, Megan, you kind of already said it, go along with it, say no, or ask for more time, but let's get creative. If other people have other options, please throw them out. I don't want to say those are the only three. But that's why I'm kind of, I'm landing on the, need more time to get these answers. Sorry, Christine. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wanted to give time to Christine too.
Yeah, I think that the consensus here is that the process has been shitty and that we need more time and we need answers to the questions. Diana, you had your hand up before. Do you want to say something before I go to Angie?
I was trying to formulate something about what would be feasible for us to vote on in a period of 2 weeks. And frankly, I did not come up with something that would be feasible. I'm trying to jot down 2 alternate statements that the SOECA membership could vote on. But maybe there's three. But I see there being two. Either we support the school district with this CIP plan, or we ask them to not move forward with a CIP that includes closing SIMS, relocating SCES, and using that campus as a holding school. Like, in 2 weeks, could we vote on that and see whether there is even a consensus among people who could vote on that?
We will
Or is
see.
there a third? Or do we just formulate a list of questions?
Or all the above. Angie, you're next.
I do think that we should be making a request for our own presentation from the school system that goes through their analysis and how they came up with the proposal that they did. And we should give them in advance the questions that I think people are beginning to put together a list so that they can prepare the presentation with an eye towards answering as many of those questions in the presentation. This is the least that they could do, in my opinion, and that they should be doing this as soon as possible. I want to pick up on Bruce's remarks that he made. I worked with Bruce a very long time ago when both of our children were at Sligo Creek Elementary School on the boundary studies at that time. And there were many, many meetings involved in that decision-making process. And so, the school does owe it to the community, and not just to the PTAs, but those neighbors who live around the school system and who've had children that have gone through the schools. We're very pleased with the education that our children received. And I'm happy to report one's graduated from college and is working, and the other one is almost through college. But we all have a stake in this, and they really should be communicating with us. Like, it's problematic to me that I'm learning information as a neighbor, seeing letters that were submitted to the school system that I have not had access to. Every single neighbor needs to be informed of their opportunity to participate in an informational session from the school system about what their plan is, how they got to that conclusion, and really their advocacy for why they're backing that up. So I think that's the very least that we should all be able to agree to right now of what our ask should be.
Before any decisions are made.
Exactly.
Thank you, Angie. Chris Reynolds and then Bruce.
Bruce, were you going to follow up immediately on what Angie said? You can go first if you were.
Yes, I was just going to say that, hey, Angie, I just wanted to say that in the letter from Dr. Taylor, he did say he would set up community meetings with the school, I believe, not necessarily with the community, but I wonder if our PTA representatives have heard anything from him about proposed meetings.
Anybody?
We haven't nailed down. We haven't heard from him. I haven't had a letter in my inbox, I will tell you, from Dr. Taylor asking, can I come and when can I come? I haven't had anyone reach out to me. This has moved so fast, like we're all trying to do a million things, but we have been talking about what if we need to invite him, when the best time might that be. Meg and I have talked, for the next PTA meeting, or just set up a separate date. So we have talked about that. We certainly will not let it go without bringing him to our school if he does not reach out to us. But he has not reached out to us first.
Thank you, Christine. Chris Reynolds.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think what I'm feeling the most leading this conversation is that we can't effectively advocate for ourselves when we don't have the plan, and there's too many unknowns right now. And so, to me, the most effective advocacy first step, and people can disagree with me on this, is to put together a list of questions that we need answers to fast. and then demand that the superintendent or his staff or the Board of Education or whatever come and answer those questions. I mean, they're going to have answers because they have to put this on paper as part of the SIP, right? And the follow-up studies. And so I think it's not unreasonable to ask for those. And when we see what their answers are, or at least they're the clearest answers they can give us at this stage, that's when we can start to follow up with, all right, if this is the plan, here's what we need from it for our community, for our kids, et cetera. So maybe that's a good place to start. I think I'm a little bit skeptical of just like sending out a survey into the neighborhood and saying, hey, should we agree to close SIMS or not? I think just like people don't really know. A lot of people are not informed. People don't get that there's big problems and that just like the status quo is not a good answer either. And so I'm a little hesitant on that front, but I think this questions and demanding presentation is a very good start.
Yeah, but Chris, you're giving them an out because they could just be like, I don't know, we'll figure that out later. Like, you're going to get answers to some of your stuff, but then a lot of it's going to be, I don't know. And I mean, I don't know in what planet you approved $2.5 billion. I don't know how many of you, I'm a government worker of 20 years, and I've approved, hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know in what world you approve a budget of that size with so little information. So that's why I think the conundrum becomes, it's not just ask and then okay, it's ask and then what do you do when you don't get the answers to so many of your questions? Then you've got to decide, right?
Exactly. But let's give them the opportunity to not answer our questions before we go.
Sure, 100%, totally agree.
I'm just sifting through my dates here real fast, and Therese might have this right at the top of her head. So Therese, can you just help us make sure we know November 4th is the date that we are to receive more information.
They're going to have a working session for the BOE.
Hopefully, some of the questions, if we give them the benefit of the doubt, hopefully some of our questions will be answered November 4th. I think the strange thing is that there was the first CIP report came out, and then in between that date and the date when they are supposed to give the specifics for SIMS and Sligo Creek Elementary, we have this Board of Education hearing. But yet the date that they are supposed to give the information that we all want is November 4th. But Therese, remind me of the date for, the vote, the date for them to come to some sort of their next step.
So the Board of Education is typically due to approve a CIP plan on November 20th. That's less than a month. I agree with you. This is a highly problematic timeline, but that's what is currently the timeline for the next step. I think asking for more time is entirely, understandable. Yeah. So.
Thanks, Therese. I just want to make sure everybody does know that November 4th is the date that we should be receiving more information at the next CIP working meeting.
We hope that our PTA representatives will have formulated a robust set of questions that will get to the board by November 4th, so they can ask those questions and get some answers. We really need more time. Terry?
I understand we would get more information on November 4th, but I strongly feel we need them to come here to answer our questions and have a real conversation with the community. Like, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what is being suggested, but I don't think we should wait for November 4th to hear what they're going to say. I think we need to go to them and say, you need to come here, have a meeting with us, ask and respond to our questions at that meeting. In fact, I would put that as the priority, schedule a meeting with us. And Lori Elenoff mentions we should have all the feeder schools into SIMS be invited, and I entirely agree with that. And in the meantime, we put together what our major questions are as a community. But to me, the number one thing is like they need to come to us and talk to us one-on-one. Well, not one-on-one, obviously, but to answer our questions. That shouldn't be done at the November 4th meeting.
And we can make the point that this process is unfair and unreasonable. And I think if we keep reiterating that, maybe we'll get some more respect.
Agreed. That's the second thing that needs to, yeah.
Robin, you've got a comment, question?
Oh, many people have said the same thing, but actually, it seems to me that pinning our hopes on November 4th is fruitless. I mean, we're going to be lucky to get our own set of questions in before November 4th. They're not going to have answers. I mean, you know, it's going to take us time to get our positions clear and to figure out what we really need to know even before November 4th. That's coming very soon. I do wonder whether there is any chance whatsoever that we can force a pushback on the CIP passage on November 20th. And also, this is a more general question because I don't know school budgeting. Is the CIP process, the CIP process covers multiple years, right? So it's a multi-year plan, but doesn't it have to be submitted every year? The plan can be changed next year.
They do it every 2 years.
They do it every 2 years. Okay.
And they amend it in the odd years.
So they amend it in between plans, right? So we can come back in a year or whatever. I mean, there is opportunity, I guess I'm saying. I would also say as an aside, I thought it was absolutely absurd to say that the failings of the consultation process at MCPS can be cleaned up by discussions between the county executive and the county council. I think that is, honestly, that's outrageous. Their job is to communicate with us and with the schools and to make sure that we are fully involved. To pretend that we're going to be able to intervene in conversations between Elrich and Jawando, well, I don't think that's going to happen.
Anybody else want to make a comment? Demisi?
Just one question. I know that county exec, the CIP, at least what the board is proposing, has to go to the council. Before going to the council, it has to go to Mark Elrich's office. Is that correct? If so, do we have any way we can sway him? I know that he's not, up for election, but there are a couple of others that have announced that they're running for county executive office. So can we do a three-pronged approach where we're targeting not just our immediate representatives, but the higher up offices as well? Just to put this on their radar if it's not.
Well, I think we need to put it on the radar of everybody who's going to ultimately have a chance to vote on this, including Mark as the incumbent county executive who's running for council at large. He'll still be involved in the process, but people need to know that we're not happy, and that this is a difficult way to run a railroad. So. We'll be looking for some leadership from our PTA reps. PTA reps, sort of on you. Chris and I will make, reach out to our memberships to get some input into that, and we can rock the boat a little bit to show that this is an important issue. And I think they understand that the school boundary issues, the new construction, the underinvestment in the Dow County schools are something that they know about, and they've never really had to deal with sort of crystallized opposition to some of these plans. And I think that Taylor, he's making a big ask. He's not going to get all the money that he wants in the capital budget, and maybe where it gets shaved off is these projects in this particular year. So. That's what I think might happen. So let's conclude this conversation going to end the recording and we're going to post it on YouTube. We're going to share with the PTA presidents and send it to Chris. We'll put it up on our various listservs so people can listen to it. We'll direct the questions from our memberships to each of us. We'll also have the email address for the PTA presidents, and we'll try to funnel the information to them. But please, stay engaged with, the electeds, with the school board, and with the superintendent, and hopefully we can get some answers to these questions and get them sooner rather than later. Final call. Anybody have a question they want to ask? Just blurt it out at this point. We're down to 41 people on this call.
I just feel really strongly that it shouldn't just be the PTAs, that we should be, as a neighborhood, forming a opinion that we put forward to people
Tina
involved.
seems to agree with that. Melissa seems to agree with that.
Yeah.
We will work on that. We need to get some input from our neighbors on, who are not subject matter experts on this, and see who wants to participate. We are stakeholders. Lord knows we've been involved in this process for many years, and we'd like the best solution for the community. So
could the two associations just immediately agree to request the presentation from the superintendent and his staff? I mean, I just think that's like a basic thing that they should be doing. And I think that should be a really easy decision we can make right now. I just worry, that we're hearing too much about reliance on others when we as associations should be going forward and representing our neighborhoods.
I like those explosions of thumbs up that I just saw on the
thank you for all that support.
Don't know how to do that. I'd like to know, but Ro, that sort of throws it into your court as making that request to the superintendent as PTA representative. Chris and I can do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's bylaws stuff about what's from SWECA officially, but I can send a letter as the president of SWECA, and I'm happy to do that. And Al and I can do that jointly. We don't want to find ourselves at cross purposes with what the PTA is asking, so we want to coordinate.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think we need to take a position, but I think we could all say we need a meeting immediately, and this comes from the neighborhood associations and the PTAs.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a time urgency to all this too. I mean, they're putting a very short, I'm sorry I was late, I had another meeting, but they're putting a very short timeline on us. And so it seems to me, I'm hearing a lot of people agreeing with each other that there needs to be swift action, and they need to know that the neighborhood is really, really concerned about this and needs to be consulted. That seems like a message we could get across right away.
Thank you, Melissa, and welcome.
Thanks.
If there's nothing else, we'll bring this meeting to a conclusion.
One quick thing, Alan.
Who's that?
It's Robin. Sorry.
Go ahead, Robin.
What about other neighborhood associations? There are two of you, right? But I know it has people going to SSIMS and to Sligo Creek. I wonder if you know of other neighborhood associations that could be added to that letter.
What about, is it North Hills? Well, that's the one that's got the school proposal there, Christine.
What, Parkside? You mean North Hills?
Yeah.
Yes, I think I'm North Hills. So thanks for inviting me. No, I think that North Hills is we're not nearly as fast as you, but I've been sending them information, mostly so that our parents with toddlers, know what's going on. But the association hasn't called for a meeting yet for them. But to Terry's point, yes, I mean, Ro and I want to be as helpful as we can. We're trying to aggregate a lot, but in the end, like, yes, I agree with Terry. Like, your neighborhood, we want to try to find a vision, but yes, your neighborhood, I think, needs to also, needs to advocate as your neighborhood too. I'm just saying, like, I don't want everyone to feel like, oh, we have to do it all. Like, we're happy to, do what we can, but yes, your neighborhood, also is important and should advocate as well.
So this is a familiar situation we find ourselves in, where it's the residents who have to do a lot of the heavy lifting to get these issues in front of our electeds and the bureaucrats who work for MCPS. So let's do that. At least we had this meeting. We've got some good questions. We've got over 100 comments in the chat, which we'll share with the PTA presidents and share with Chris. And please don't hesitate to raise additional issues over the course of the next few hours and days, so we can try to get a position together. So thank you all for joining us this evening, and I am going